Hi there, boy. Great to see you once again here on Leading Edge. I'm your host, Jeff Smith. Coming up a little later, it's not a new event, but later this month, it is something right up my alley, and I hope it is up yours as well. But first, we do a lot of stories that focus on downtown Toledo or what's happening in the suburbs. However, you can ask anyone, and the success of any city is about its neighborhoods. And to that end, a moment to understand how that work happens and what's happening right here, right now. We're not new to this story, but I did want to focus on it a little bit because CEO and President of Lucas County Land Bank, David MANN, has been going around town telling people of some of the good work that the Land Bank is doing. David, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Like I said, it's not a news story what the Land Bank is doing. I wanted to talk to you about how it's being done and what specifically is being done. You guys had an event just a couple of weeks ago where there were a number of videos released, and it really showcases what the work is, who the work is benefiting. What was the genesis of coming up with this idea to produce something like this to tell the story?
Yeah, we had a great event last week, and we wanted to tell the stories of the people that we work with in neighborhoods. Because I think a lot of times people aren't sure exactly what the Land Bank is or what that work looks like.
Define the mission for viewers.
Well, the Land Bank is about helping to bring abandoned properties that have been left behind in neighborhoods, whether they're vacant lots or empty homes, back to productive use. But when we do that, what we often find is that there's somebody living next door who has struggled for a time themselves, or there's a business down the road that's looking to expand and they need access to land to do that, or there's something else going on in the neighborhood. And what we wanted to tell the community is that when we think about a neighborhood, we think about every aspect of it. We think about all the things that we can do to help invest in that community. And we talk a lot about stats. You know, we've been involved in over 7,000 different properties, bringing them back to a good use for this community. But that doesn't
Over
tell
how long of a period?
14 years.
Okay.
So that's a lot of change in the community, but those numbers don't tell the whole story. What tells the story are the people that we work with, whether that is somebody who lives next door or somebody or business that we're working with.
Land Bank, it makes you think of a compilation of properties, but you also think money. How does it work?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we do, people bring properties to our attention, or we find them through our own work that are abandoned, that people aren't paying the property taxes, people aren't taking care of them in the ways that we can. We work then to become the owner ourselves. Once we become the owner, we can do a lot of different things. If it's a house that we think can be renovated, we renovate it. We get it to a place where someone can live there again and make it happen.
I wanted to point out this first video here that people are looking at, this tells the story, as you said, you want to tell the story of people and the people in the neighborhoods and how they want to make things better around them. Quality of life, we hear that again and again and again. That is key in all of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. In that video, one of the stories we tell is Miss Kayla, who lives on Upton Avenue in central Toledo. We fixed up and renovated a house right next door to her that was empty for a long time. But when we met her right next door and talked to her, she said, gosh, I've been struggling with I need a furnace. I need siding because I have all this peeling, chipping paint on the outside of my house. It's worrying me about lead poisoning.
Let's go back a little bit. When Miss Kayla sees the work being done next door, happy about it? Upset about it?
No, happy about it.
Okay.
You know, living next to a mess for a long time, not sure who was going to step in. And so we started to do the thing we normally do, stepped in, took control of that property in a way that we started fixing it up. But I think what we recognize is that we can fix that house up. That solves that problem. Miss Kayla needs some help too. Other people on that same block also need some help in order to do it. And our investment in that one house that we deal with that was abandoned, by helping to invest in all the people on that block where we can, we're creating a long-term impact. We're creating a quality of life that the neighborhood deserves, but probably hasn't seen for a while.
A question for you, because I think a lot of people on the periphery, they see commercial development, they see restaurants, they see bars go up, they see stores launch. This is getting out of that and getting into the communities where it probably would need, it should be in reverse order. It should be the communities making that ebb and flow toward the downtown or toward the suburbs. Are you catching what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like places like downtown are exciting. But all of us go back to a neighborhood, then go back to a home. You know, almost every building in this community is a single family home. Lots of them are in need of some help. Lots of them are in need of new opportunities. We have partnered very strongly with Habitat for Humanity to take vacant lots.
Another one of the videos that Aaron McPartland, who you talked to,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Just wonderful folks. But we are working with them to help them take a vacant lot, build a new house on it, and then create a new home on our block where for a long time perhaps all people saw was vacant land, grass that wasn't being cut, things that looked like there was nothing going to happen there. Today, now we have houses where used to we just had grass, and that's an opportunity as well to rebuild a place that might have struggled over time. We might have lost some things from the past, but we can bring things in the future. And I think that's a story that is so real for Toledo right now.
Yeah.
But part of what we do at the Land Bank is to help tell that story.
Federal, state, local dollars, how's this all happening?
Yeah, most of the Land Bank's money comes through grants at this point. We receive a little bit of money as a result of people who pay their property taxes late. There's sometimes the folks that are creating some of these problems, so there's some equity in that. But state and federal resources, I think the silver lining, if there was any in the pandemic, is that there was a recognition that we need to invest in ourselves.
Is it a Herculean task? I mean, you come to work each and every week and think, man, I want to help this, I want to help that, but obviously there's a lot of help that's needed.
Absolutely. And we're not the only group of folks doing this kind of work in the community. I think we need more.
Yeah.
The Land Bank, we have a great team of 10 people. It's not me, it's 10.
10?
10, that's it. That's all of us. But that's a good group and we're working hard.
Yeah.
And it is hard. And every property situation that we are presented with means something has gone wrong. And our job is to try to figure out with the neighborhood, with residents, with other stakeholders how to fix it.
Yeah.
And we do our best to do that. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. But you're right, there's still a lot of things left in our community that need to be tackled.
Can you stay around for another segment?
Sure.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about kind of the outreach that you guys have made, the connections you have made with businesses as well. And I also want to ask a little bit about sometimes these properties, you find them, they find you, how it works out. We're going to continue our conversation with David here on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Talking with David Mann, Lucas County Land Bank CEO and President. We've been talking about some of the work that has been done over the better part of a decade to try to improve properties around the Toledo area. And David, I said going into the break, I said, do these properties find you, you find them? How does it work, or is it both ways?
It's both ways.
Yeah.
We 4 years ago now, we went out for the second time and surveyed every single property in the city of Toledo, all 120,000.
And asked them what?
Well, we didn't talk to the people.
Okay.
We stood on the sidewalk and looked at what was going on there, figured out whether that house was empty or somebody was living there, figured out if it was a vacant lot that somebody wasn't taking care of. So that data is one way that we help figure out how to make interventions in neighborhoods. But neighbors.
How many homes did you come up with in just doing that? Do you remember?
Well, we found over 4,000 that we thought were empty but could be rehabbed. Another 1,000 or so that we found that probably needed to be demolished.
Yeah.
Lots and lots more vacant land that could be an opportunity for the neighborhood as well. But neighbors also bring properties to our attention, and we rely on that because neighbors know their neighborhoods better than we do. There's so many places in our community that we need to hear from neighbors as well, and they do that through our website. And we investigate every single one of them. I don't think we can solve every single property situation.
Right.
We can't make people get along with their neighbors sometimes. That's not our job.
True.
But we can solve the things that we're tasked with, and we try very hard to do that.
Yeah, by the way, don't call a land bank if you're trying to figure out a squabble you got with your neighbor. He just said he does not deal with that. When you were talking about going through and cultivating all of these homes, I was curious. We sometimes get tunnel vision here in Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan, thinking, oh, this is unique. Is the land bank unique? Does this happen in other towns?
Absolutely. In Ohio, we were the second county land bank to form in Ohio 14 years ago. Today, there are 69 out of 88 counties. So almost every place in Ohio now has a land bank working on this. It's not something that happens all over the country, but in the Midwest in particular, in places that we like to think of as legacy cities that had a really strong past, have a really bright future, but struggled in the middle there, it created things. I mean, we've lost people in our community. We hope that they're coming back, but people don't take their houses with them when they leave.
Yeah.
And so figuring out ways to make sense of the places where people used to be and bring new people in and help to stabilize the folks that have always been there, that's really what we're thinking about. But it's a generational kind of investment as we do it.
Well, what would be your checkup on the city of Toledo? Like if you had the city of Toledo coming into your office for a checkup and said, Doc, how am I looking? What would you say?
I think the city is doing a lot better than it really has in a long time. I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Southern Ohio, but I've been here 24 years.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a period of time.
Whereabouts?
I grew up in Dayton.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was born in Kettering.
Oh yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Wonderful. So I grew up in a place that's a lot like Toledo in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I've been here, I think, enough time to say that this is a period of time where we've seen more commitment toward moving the needle forward from the business community, from people, from local government, the community investing in itself. And I think the land bank has been a part of that, and I think has been able to pick up on that momentum and drive it forward. If folks didn't want us to be working in neighborhoods, we wouldn't be very successful. But I think it's because people kind of crave this kind of investment and this kind of future that we're seeing that happen.
I think there's power in people as well, and you see it in these videos. By the way, I encourage you to go to YouTube, pull up the land bank videos that we've been sharing with you here this morning, that you can watch more of these. Community garden, that's another highlight of one of these videos. And we see right there John Amato from Juke Mode. I wanted to ask you specifically about them, because when I asked about coming to you finding it sounds like they found you.
Yeah, we became the owner of an abandoned original Kroger, a 1920s Kroger in the Uptown neighborhood, right outside of downtown. Juke Mode wanted to have, this is now almost 10 years ago, but they wanted to have a Toledo location. They wanted to be headquartered in Toledo. So we helped them acquire that property. We helped them clean it up. It had some environmental issues. They made it their headquarters. They have been so successful, they've now outgrown that space, and they're moving now to an even larger space just a few blocks away. We helped them get control of land for that project as well. So we've been with them time and again to try to help grow their business.
And I know you've done this show with Jerry in the past, and let me just say, if we're grabbing somebody's ear this morning, how arduous is the process in order to have some property, maybe their own, looked at and or fixed?
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's two different stages. So it's work to become the owner. This state you don't just lose your property because you don't cut your grass for a couple weeks or you don't pay your taxes. You have to go through court processes. It takes time. We have to make sure that people have all the rights and protections. But if they no longer want their property and we become the owner, then we start to switch into our second gear, which is how do we do something there positively? How do we partner with a neighborhood group that's going to put in a community garden? How do we fix it up ourselves? We've renovated 20 houses ourselves, created 20 new homeowners. Those are big projects. Those are tens of thousands of dollars.
And it's not overnight.
And it's not overnight. But one property at a time adds up to 7,000 or more over this time period, and that's a lot. And that's what it looks like. And I think what we often see when we are working on a property, somebody across the street sees that kind of hope and optimism, they start working on their own property too. And it builds.
We've got about 30 seconds. Tell me, going into 2024, you had your checklist, and how big of a task did you set for yourself for this year?
We set a big task. We have applied for over $20 million of state grants to clean up brownfields and deal with other situations. We applied for a $2 million grant almost to create 8 new affordable housing opportunities with Habitat. And that's on top of everything else that we were already doing. So we've got a big task in front of us, but I think we can do it. I think the community deserves it.
Wow. David, thank you so much. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be back. We're going to talk about something that was 20 years in the making, Culture Clash and Record Day. We talk about that next. Welcome back. Once again, I'm Jeff Smith, your host here on Leading Edge, celebrating history and nostalgia that is music to your ears. Culture Clash Records celebrating National Record Day in a couple of weeks with another big event. We're talking live music, food trucks, great records as well. But my question to Tim Friedman this morning is, what is it about Toledo, this region, that draws our people to this classic kind of taste?
I mean, this is a...
By the way, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. The vinyl resurgence has been, about 20 years or so in the making, and it appeals to, certainly everyone nationally, globally, but in this area of the Midwest, we've got heart.
Yeah.
We are good people, and I think when people ask about the, Toledo or Midwest music scene, it's often overlooked, but in reality, it's the aggregate of all of these great communities, all of the Detroit soul. Toledo has its own history. Art Tatum, legendary piano jazz player, and on point, there's going to be a live box set of Art Tatum recordings released on Record Store Day here in April.
April 20th, and we'll tell you more about that coming up in just a second as we talk through this. Bring everybody up to speed as far as Culture Clash is concerned, because obviously it has been years of growth, years of movement. I mean, I remember you guys on C-Core, but I also want to talk about Boogie Records and the history there.
Yeah, I mean, Boogie Records started 51 years ago in 1973 from a couple friends, including Pat O'Connor, and they ran that business right up until they felt they could no longer do it, because the internet and streaming, everything felt like it was gloom and doom for music. But Pat O'Connor, months after Boogie Records closed, he opened Culture Clash because he knew Toledo deserved a fantastic record store. So that was 20 years ago that Culture Clash opened around April. Fitting that Record Store Day will be in April. But unfortunately, Pat passed away in late 2016. I took over the business in 2017, and like you said, we've kind of been shaking it up. We've moved downtown to a beautiful building, corner of Monroe and 10th Street, and we've been,
And your fans found you. They either followed you or found you, and I'm sure new friends
we moved
as well.
early in the pandemic, and I was surprised at how quickly our customers were to find us and new ones were to seek us out.
Yeah. I guess I have my own vested interest in music, and I was telling you before we started here today, I was a child of albums. I was a child of 8-tracks, and sitting on an 8-track box in my aunt's car as we'd go zooming around town, listening to music. But I used to just, as an only child, I would busy myself by reading liner notes, which I don't know what happened to liner notes. I wish they would come back. But
they have. They have. They still exist, and that's some of the things I brought today. A few records that are coming out on Record Store Day. But the reality is, you aren't alone. That young version of yourself. You mentioned your 11-year-old has a record player now. He's feeling the same way. He wants to devour the music that's important, and whether it's revisiting what you and I know to be greats, or whether it's finding that the new Beyonce record speaks volumes to him. That's what's happening now, and we've seen kind of generationally these shifts in musical formats, from tape to CD, streaming, and all this stuff. But what's not visible to the average kid is all of that time. What's visible to them is the records that are available now from musicians that they love now. And that's what's going to continue to be important to them, the same way it was to you.
I got a kick, and I told you I kicked myself because I wanted to we got Michael Jackson Thriller for my son for Christmas, and as I pulled out the sleeve and started, oh my gosh, there's all the names that I remember. The studio of the Porcaro brothers, who all were involved with so many of those songs in the studio sessions. Steve Lukather, who was from Toto, obviously, but I'm looking through that and I'm thinking, this is what geeked me up. This is what I really got into. Before we run out of time, I want you to share some of the things that are going to be launched.
Music is important. You're absolutely right. So let me speed round through a bunch of the stuff that's happening for and around April 20th for Record Store Day. So first of all, like we mentioned, we're going to pay tribute to Boogie Records with the Boogie Records logo shirt. We're bringing those back. Those will be back in the store that week. We're also doing an homage to that shirt as Culture Clash. So there's a brand new Culture Clash shirt that kind of coincides with that. On Record Store Day, April 20th, there will be people that camp out overnight. People are going to come early and line up because there are hundreds of exclusive releases available only in independent record stores on that day. So,
Such as?
Look, I've got a diverse sampling just in 3 records here. Live 1968 set from the Doors at their peak. You've got Paramore's latest album as paired with the remix album. So this is the side that looks more familiar to y'all. But this This Is Why as well as the remix album. And then another kind of random cool one, and I'm just gonna shout out for, this is $14. A compilation of soul from Detroit, selected by people that work in record stores like myself, like my store manager Torch. We got to pick the songs that are on this, and it's honestly, it goes hard.
What's your favorite genre, period?
Oh, genre with a hard stop.
Is that hard?
That's so tough. I mean, I'll tell you, I love Talking Heads.
Yeah.
I love Fear of Music and Speaking in Tongues era Talking Heads, which in and of itself kind of defies genre.
Yeah.
I love hip hop, kind of backpacker, lo-fi hip hop. Whether it's from Detroit or Toledo or outside of that. I'm all over the place.
I did want to mention in our last 30 seconds, food trucks, live performances, as well as sales going on. 30
Absolutely.
seconds.
Live music from Ryan Dunlap and Elmhurst in the morning in the parking lot. Show up by 9 a.m. And you're going to see all these local vendors. You're going to see the Toledo Library Maker Department. There's Sweet Nate's Coffee is going to be available. The live music will continue all afternoon from Gut Feeling, Propolis, Villager from Columbus, Toledo's The Beats, who I love, as well as our own User 927 and Malice.
Saturday, April 20th, corner of
Monroe and 10th Street, Culture
Tim,
Clash Records.
Good to see you. I
Thanks,
hope it's
Jeff.
a huge event again this year.
Hope so too.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back for a final time here on this Sunday. Boy, David and Tim were great, weren't they? We hope you enjoyed that. By the way, I'd be remiss if I did not point you in the direction of Monday's coverage of the total solar eclipse. This celestial event, our coverage here on WTOL 11 starts at noon. We hope to see you then.